Hey, it's Bruce Naylor, your boomer consumer and everyday audiophile. And by everyday audiophile, I mean that I love great sound, but I don't want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get it. And so we look at different gear and have tricks and tips to get the most out of your audio dollar. Now, that being said, when you start looking at modern, high quality receivers, amplifiers, preamplifiers, any of this stuff, the price tags can be astounding. $8,000 for a Macintosh receiver, for example. Wow, that's a lot of money, and not many of us got those kind of deep pockets. So where do we turn to save some money and get some high quality gear? Well, we turn to eBay, and on there you're going to find a lot of vintage audio equipment, the stuff from the 70s and 80s, the kind of the golden era of hi-fi gear as far as I'm concerned. That's when the receiver wars were out, and the Sonys and Pioneers and JVCs and the Onkyos and Sansuis and Marances, they went to war with each other to make the biggest, baddest receivers, and these things were battleships. And the cool thing about them is they were designed to be repaired, unlike modern stuff, which is more or less throwaway gear. But before you go down the eBay and vintage gear rabbit hole, let me preface this with this. Unless you're handy with soldering irons and schematics and the mechanical aptitude, you may want to have somebody, whether it's an individual or a company, that's in the business of fixing vintage audio gear available. Because here's the thing, I don't care what the sellers on eBay say, you can just assume there's going to be something wrong with the gear. And to expand on that, all these electronic items, the tape decks, the reel-to-reels, the preamps, the amplifiers, all this stuff have what's called electrolytic capacitors, and they're only good for about 15 to 20 years max, and then they begin to fail. So even if a seller says that it's in perfect working order, it's probably not unless it's been totally recapped, and that's the process of removing and replacing all these capacitors with state-of-the-art, well, new stuff, not necessarily state-of-the-art, but new stuff, because they are failing. Now, sometimes when a capacitor fails, it makes a small difference in performance. Other times, it can be catastrophic. But the bottom line is, this vintage gear from the 70s and 80s, we're talking 40-year-old caps, and they are dying or partially dead or on their way out. So if you want this gear to last, you're going to have to get it recapped. And believe me, that's a heck of an investment. So assume that all vintage gear has a problem. Don't care what the seller has to say. Next, you locate a piece of gear. Maybe it's a vintage, let's say it's a vintage Pioneer amplifier. I happen to be really partial to their SA series with the, it's called the fluoroscan meters, like a blue. There's silver, just a beautiful piece of gear. All right. Pay attention to the price, because if you choose buy now, maybe you don't want to go through the process of an auction, those prices are going to be super overinflated. What you want to do is locate the piece of gear, know what you want, and then filter on sold. And then you'll see the actual prices these are going for, and then you can try to negotiate a much more realistic price. But keep this in mind. Maybe you can pick that amp up that needs repair for $200 or whatever. But how much is it going to cost to have it recapped, and the potentiometers cleaned, or pots as they call them, and things cleaned up and corrected? It could cost way more than what that unit would ever be worth. And so you end up overpaying, is what I'm saying. Even if you thought you got it cheap, by the time you pay the repair bill and get it all fixed up and actually refurbished and good for another 20 or 30 years, it's probably cheaper just buy a brand new amplifier. It's just not worth the investment a lot of times. And when we start looking at devices that have a mechanical nature to them, for example, a cassette deck, not only do you have the electrical portion, but you also have the mechanical portion to deal with. And even though we can get capacitors and diodes and all this kind of stuff today, we can still get it. What we can't get is playback heads brand new. We can't do that. We can't necessarily get new motors for a reel-to-reel or cassette deck. And that becomes a rub. So if those are needed, you may just be totally out of luck. You may have a unit you can't do anything with, you can't get repaired because you can't get parts for it. So very, very leery over things that have mechanical parts, such as reel-to-reel cassette deck or reel-to-reel recorders, cassette decks, and turntables, because those motors, those heads, those pinch rollers, those idler tires, you might not be able to buy replacements at all anywhere. And the final thing is, read the seller's description very, very, very carefully. It's not necessarily what they're telling you, it's what they're not saying. I don't know how many times I've seen in working order. What does that, or tested? That's my favorite, tested. How was it tested? Did you test every input and output? Did you have meters on it? Do you know the voltages are right on it? No. Okay. Or refurbished, or seller refurbished. In other words, they maybe blew out some dust bunnies and sprayed some deoxit on the pots and called it a day. But again, when you refurbish a vintage piece of gear, you're replacing the capacitors, you're running tests, you've got an oscilloscope on there, you're making sure everything is absolutely perfect, you're cleaning the potentiometers, you're doing all this stuff. So you can get another 30 more years of service. I'd love to see this old gear last another 30 or 40 more years. But generally speaking, turning it on, the lights come on good enough? No. Or I hooked the speakers up and everything sounded fine. Well, just because it sounds fine doesn't mean it's within factory spec. That's what a technician is going to do and put it on a bench. They're going to make sure everything's up to spec. So there might be a diode that's failing. Again, these capacitors, sometimes the performance just gradually goes down, 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 down on them. Sometimes they actually more or less explode, and they use this paste in them that they can swell up and burst and cause catastrophic damage. I can't warn you enough about failing capacitors at all. Now, my own personal story, I have bought vintage gear on eBay over several years, and I've generally had a pretty good experience, but I have had my share of turkeys come in the door. And I'm going to relate to this story. So I was in the market originally for a Pioneer cassette deck circa 1981, preferably with the fluorostand meters on it. I really liked the CTF either 900, 950, or 1250. And the only thing I could find for sale for most part was just machines for repair or parts only. And then I come across an ad that read like this: Vintage Pioneer CTF 755 solid state stereo cassette deck, very good condition. A few scuff marks on the top surface of the faceplate and some spots on the top cover, but overall excellent cosmetic condition. See photos. Tested and working well. Plays and records tapes fine and sounds great. Okay, heads and pinch roller were cleaned and demagnetized. Loose belts replaced. Now, I'm going to roll you a short clip over what this cassette deck actually sounded like when I got it. As you can see, that sound ain't normal. And I recorded first I reached out to the seller, more or less no refunds, it was in perfect shape. Recorded a YouTube video privately, sent it to him. He agreed, yes, this is not normal, and I ultimately got a partial refund, and I just more or less ended up paying what it'd be worth for parts. I'm not going to mention any names, seller names, whatever. I feel that the seller probably didn't realize that this was going to happen, and maybe something happened in shipping. I took it to a shop, as a friend of mine, and opened it up and found that the idler tire is shot, more or less. It has a bad spot on it, and that's what's making that racket. And so right now I'm searching for an idler tire. The seller had also taken what appeared to be a rubber band against one part to put tension against the idler tire. Eventually it's going to break, and then it'll just stop working altogether. Is it worth putting much more money into it? Not to have it refurbished. not to replace the caps, because I'm looking at around 200, 250 bucks if I pay somebody to do it. I'm kind of rusty on that kind of thing, but in a few months I'm putting together an electronics repair shop in my garage, and then I'll go ahead, and this is going to be kind of a practice machine to do a complete recap and rebuild of the transport mechanism, more or less for my own thing. So that has been my experience with vintage audio gear on eBay. Lesson learned. Basically, if you're going to buy this stuff, either have, and there are very few people out there anymore, but preferably find somebody within 50 to 100 miles that you can physically drive it to. The whole shipping thing is another can of worms, because things can get damaged in shipping and just make the problem worse. Keep all that in mind when you're considering purchasing vintage audio gear. And that's it. Bruce Naylor, your boomer consumer and everyday audiophile. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.